No idea. All right, we are here for another week and another Conscious Approach video. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. Before we get started, want to remind everybody that if you're watching this video on a YouTube channel, please, pretty please, hit the subscribe button, subscribe to the channel so you can get notification for all new content published to the channel. We certainly appreciate you supporting logical content. We certainly appreciate you watching the videos because we have a blast doing this stuff. So we just want to be able to, make the commentary for the audience in the way that the audience wants to hear or see the commentary. But as usual, my name is JV Wins, and I'm joined by my buddy Dogon SS to talk about some interesting stuff that we want to talk about this week. First up, we want to talk about the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. So Tom Brady, you know, it's kind of some weird. Tom Brady, for the most part, throughout his career, right, has been able to. Uh, he's been able to have an unscathed career from the standpoint that his personal business hasn't really been out there on the street like that. Now, having said that, by no means is his personal business out there now. But what's interesting about this and what we wanted to talk about is apparently, allegedly, there is some friction going on in the Tom Brady Giselle Bündchen household because apparently there are some issues that stem from Tom Brady's decision to unretire. So Tom Brady had retired from the NFL at the conclusion of the previous season. 40 days into his retirement, he unretired and decided that he wanted to come back. The circumstances around his retirement were a little strange because it was like, you unretired after 40 days. It's just a weird thing. You don't really see that every day from people who retire from professional sports like that, let alone somebody who is as accomplished as Tom Brady, 7 Super Bowls, MVPs, all that good stuff. So it's well documented that there was an expectation that once Tom Brady had decided that retirement was on the docket, that he would be more available for family time. It is well documented again that his wife, Giselle Bündchen, is eagerly anticipating Tom Brady's retirement so that he can be more available to her and to his family. So apparently, there is alleged, once again, I want to stress that this is all alleged, it's all hearsay at this point. But apparently, there is some beef between the two of them because she's upset that he decided to unretire. So, and then there's some other weird stuff going on where apparently Tom Brady was dead set on retiring, but the plan was for them to get some kind of secret Illuminati New World Order group together to go in on owning the Miami Dolphins. But that whole thing blew up after the whole Brian Flores racial discrimination lawsuit debacle. So that put the kibosh on that whole deal. And so there's speculation that Tom Brady decided to unretire, at least in part because that happened. Where it's like, well, I'm not going to own a team and be in Miami no more, so let me go back to playing football. And apparently, Giselle Bündchen isn't a fan of his decision to unretire. So pulled up this article real quick. This article is from Yahoo. And it says Tom Brady and Giselle Bündchen are back to business as usual amid reported marital drama. Tom Brady and Giselle Bündchen are carrying on with their regular day-to-day activities amid the rumors that there might be problems in their marriage. They've each been spotted getting back to business as usual. However, they aren't doing it together right now. Brady took some time out to fly to New York to see oldest son Jack's football scrimmage, where a source told people he was in great spirits and chatted to all the parents. Jack is his child from his relationship with ex-girlfriend Bridget Moynihan, and he's showing quite a talent for the sport, just like his dad. While the NFL star was spending quality time with Jack, the 42-year-old supermodel was splashing away with son Benjamin 12 and Vivian 9 at a Miami area water park. Bündchen was spotted happy and having fun at the Tidal Cove Water Park in Aventura, Florida on Sunday, according to a People Insider. Now, I don't know where they get these people from. Who are these insiders? who are talking about how the marriage is in trouble. But it goes on to say all the fuss began when Brady took 11 days off from preseason training due to personal reasons. That's when the speculation about the couple's marriage began. Quote, there's been trouble in the marriage over his decision to unretire. Giselle has always been the one with the kids, end quote. A source explained to Page Six. Brady has acknowledged his wife's sacrifices on Sirius XM podcast Let's Go with Tom Brady, Larry Fitzgerald, and Jim Gray, sharing, quote, I think my wife has, held down the house for a long time now. And I think there are times she wants to, and I think there are things she wants to accomplish. She hasn't worked as much in the last 10, 12 years, just raising our family and kind of committing to being in a life in Boston and then moving to Florida. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback retired for 40 days and then changed his mind to return to the 2022-23 NFL season. It might be a decision that didn't sit well with Bündchen, who was reportedly excited to have Brady back in the family fold. Brady perhaps added a little fuel to the fire by stating, quote, it's all personal. And, quote, there's a lot of ish going on, end quote, at his preseason training camp press conference last week. But Bündchen is staying unusually quiet and letting her husband catch the heat. So that's where we stand with that. So there's all different kind of angles to tackle with this. Obviously, there's the relationship angle, the marriage angle, the Tom Brady Bündchen and him retiring and unretiring. And I guess the interesting thing about all of this is the way in which this is the first time that we have ever detected that there might be some issues going on in Tom Brady's personal life that could potentially go public. So, what were your thoughts, or did you have any thoughts on how this is all currently playing out with Tom Brady and his decision to unretire?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like what you said, as far as him not having any personal issues out for, dirty laundry reasons that, people can actually, get into the weeds and roll around in the mud in his personal business. He's kept it pretty close to the chest all his entire career. So the only times we would hear messy stuff with Tom Brady is when it was with Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft. This is the first that we're actually hearing any that I'm at least hearing some stuff about him and his wife and his family. Her gripe is legitimate, I think, especially since she's a supermodel, right? So
Yeah,
she's a
she's
high
all kind of things. Yeah.
yeah, so she's a high end person, and yeah, she wants to get her career going and moving, and so I don't necessarily blame her for that. I kind of would have assumed that they would have been a little bit more modern in how they were, raising their family, where mom works and dad works, and somebody else is taking care of the kids. But they seem to have more of a traditional type set where, she's holding it down. Is this selfish from Tom Brady? Possibly, but this is Tom Brady we're talking about. So, apparently he has that gene that we talked about before, where we were talking about Jordan and Kobe and stuff like that, where this is his life. And I've seen the insane look in his eyes when a receiver drops the ball. So he is very passionate about football. So I'm not surprised that he unretired. Um, it kind of sucks. I'm not really a Tom Brady guy, but as you know, he got out of New England for whatever reason. I just didn't have as much disdain for him, and I grew to appreciate his skill set. So with all of that, like, catch me 10 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, goody for his ass. But yeah, I don't want to see this happen. I'm actually I'm not a fan of his, but I definitely appreciate what he does on the football field. So I think this is a little. I think this sucks. So hopefully this is just rumor and hearsay. So what were your initial thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think it sucks too. And I turned the corner on Brady a long time ago. I think I
Mhm.
turned the corner on Brady after they beat the Seahawks that year
With the
when it
Russell
was on
Wilson
the
pass?
yeah.
Oh man.
uh, when they were on the 1 yard line, and everybody says run the ball, Marshawn, and instead they tried to throw it in there, and Malcolm Butler intercepts the ball, and that's it. I think after that, I realized that it was better on my blood pressure to just not actively root against Tom Brady.
Getting on the
So
right
yeah, I
side of
turned,
it.
yeah. It's just for what at this point, and then and at the same time, it's like, what am I really fighting against at this point? Like, he's won like four. Like, at that point, he had won like four.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like, what am I really fighting against? It's a foregone conclusion. Like, once he hit the 4 or 5 mark, it was just like, why continue to root against him for what? Whatever is going to be said is at this point a bit irrefutable given how successful his career has been. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, you might as well just not, you don't necessarily have to root for him, but appreciate the achievements is where I came around. I'm no longer somebody who actively roots against him. Now I kind of am curious, and I think I said this before. I'm curious to see how much he can run it up. I'm just fascinated by it. Can he win 8? Like, I'm just fascinated by that. So yeah, I don't really have issues with Brady. And so because I don't have issues with Brady, I find this to be unfortunate, but I also don't know the intricacies of their relationship, which is why I'm curious as to who these insiders are and how stuff like this gets out, where it's like, oh yeah, she's unhappy and they're fighting. Who are you and how do you know that?
Right.
It's just weird. Like, what are we doing here? But yeah, I think that that's a good angle that you had there, where you mentioned how it appears as though they were conducting their relationship from a less modern perspective. And it seemed to be more traditional, where while Brady was an active player, she appeared to be the one who was kind of doing the child rearing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in order to and she sacrificed those years where she could still be productive in her own career for the sake of raising the family, which is an admirable thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious, like, what fascinates me about this is that crazy gene. And you brought up the Jordan thing, and you brought up the Kobe thing. And this is where I don't think LeBron should be put in categories with people like this, because I don't think LeBron is this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it about these people that's so insane that 7 Super Bowls is not enough? Like,
Why?
why did you? What makes you come back? Like, why? And so, like, I don't know whether I don't. And that's the thing. I feel like years from now, we're gonna know what really went on. We're gonna
Mm-hmm.
know whether he really came back because he just wanted to play that bad, whether he came back because of the whole Dolphins thing, whether it was something else, a combination of all of the above. I feel like in the future we're gonna know the real truth, but I just don't think right now we know everything, and all the ducks aren't aligned. Like, for someone as uber successful as him, and essentially you went out on top. I mean, they didn't win in the last season that he was there prior to coming back, but they also didn't lose in embarrassing fashion. Like, they made it to, I believe, the NFC Championship game, and they just lost to the Rams, who went on to win the Super Bowl. So you still kind of sort of went out on top because you won the Super Bowl in the previous year. Yet and
Mm-hmm.
still, what is it about your brain that makes you say, despite all that, at 45 years old, I'm going to come back and play again?
I'll say he's
Um,
45. That's what I was looking up right now.
yeah. So it's like, what makes you do that? And I think that might be at, I think that might be somewhat at the core of any sort of alleged. Again, I want to stress, I don't know. We're just using this as content, and this is allegedly what's being put out there. But if there is a rift between the two, that could be at the core of what the source of her discontent is, which is, how much more do you want? And this is where people like Tom Brady are just completely unrelatable to the rest of the human population, who can understand that at a certain point, I've had enough fill of this and I'm ready to move on to something else. I cannot comprehend what goes on in the mind of a person like Tom Brady or Michael Jordan that makes you say this is not enough. I truly believe that if Jordan was able to continue to do what he did physically, he wouldn't have retired either. He just literally couldn't run and jump anymore.
Mhm.
And Tom Brady's situation is a little different because you're a quarterback. So as long as you're not getting hit and you're protected, you can play a little longer. Especially because of the way that he takes care of his body the way LeBron does, where it's like he
Mhm.
probably has the physical body of a 30-year-old man, even though he's 45.
Mhm.
So that level of insanity is something that I find fascinating because I don't know if it's a genetic predisposition. I don't know whether that's something that you're born with or whether that's something that you can develop and it just takes the right set of circumstances in order to develop it. But clearly that is a gene that his wife does not have. Because if I don't think their relationship would have lasted very long if they were both psycho like that, because they both would have said, I need to do what I got to do. And if you can't get on board with that, then we're going to have to cut this thing short. And since it's lasted this long, my guess is she's not psycho like that. And there's probably only room in a marriage or a relationship for there to be one psycho. And so, Psycho Tom is Psycho Tom. I just don't know at what point you've had enough. And like the guy has like what, 3 MVPs, Super Bowl MVPs, records, touchdown passes, passing yards, 7 championships. That will never be eclipsed. I don't care who we're talking about or what year we're in. We are not going to see we're not going to see one single player win more than 7 Super Bowls. I just don't think that'll ever happen. Um, Again, I could be wrong. Maybe I'll be dead and gone and in the dirt by the time something like that is possible, but I just don't see that happening. So at what point is enough enough? And that's what I find fascinating about this. And I think if this is true, then I think, Giselle is probably asking the same questions. Bro, hey, bro, like at what point is enough enough? Like when have you had enough of your fill of this?
Mhm. Well, I agree with that, and but I think with him, as like you said, it's kind of like with Jordan because he would have kept playing had his knees held up, and he can still run and move like that. But in his last years in Washington, it's pretty apparent. Yeah, you can still get buckets, bro, but you can't really keep up with what's going on out there. And but with Tom, he just has to throw a slant and his deep ball is still legit. So he can
Yeah.
still hit somebody in stride, 30, 40 yards down the field. So that's kind of all you have to do as a
Yeah.
quarterback. And he plays a minimalistic style of football where he doesn't exert much energy at all. He gets the ball out quick, so he doesn't get as many hits. So in his mind, if I can still throw it 40, 50 yards, on the dime, in tight coverage, why shouldn't I keep playing? And I think that's where his brain is at. Also, it's kind of one of those things where, like Lou Holtz or Bobby Petrino, where I mean, you know, shit, Mac Brown, Nick Saban. Like these guys are old. They were old. Like Nick Saban's like in his like late 60s or
He's like,
something, or
no, it's Nick Saban's in his 70s. I'm
so
pretty
he's in his
sure.
set. Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
up there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things where, now granted, he's not up there in age, but those guys, I kind of felt like, hell, Bobby Bowden. And it's just like, if I retire, what's left?
Hmm.
And yeah, he has a family and he has kids, but his career
Nick
came
Saban.
first.
Nick Saban is 70 on the nose.
He's
He's
70.
70.
And so
He
he's
turns
70.
71 in October.
And he's still spry though.
That's what
Nick
I'm
Saban is.
saying. Yeah.
And so, but it's one of those things where it keeps you alive. And so for Tom, even though he's not up there in age, he's hella old for football years. Honestly, he's probably the oldest person to ever put on a uniform or at least start. And so he's up there, and I think he's in this space where, like, if I retire, dude, well, I'm gonna go to soccer practice and football games and recitals. That ain't it. I want to be in the locker room with the boys, with the guys. I want to get hit. I want to throw. I think he still feels like he's got it still. And this to me, and this is probably where she's pissed off at, is that it has now become very apparent to her in her world that football is higher than their marriage and their kids. And so I know he loves his kids. I mean, he kisses them in the mouth, but but it's still a thing where um when you're dealing with somebody and you're in a relationship with that person and that person has an agenda outside of the relationship, it always causes a strain. And I'm surprised because this clearly has been a buildup. So if this is true, um I'm surprised that this didn't take form earlier, when he was literally, 41, 42, and everybody was like, ain't no way. And he's still out there trying to compete and do things. At this rate, you want to see how much he can win. I want to see how long he can play. And if he retires at 48 or 47, this is going to accelerate it though, for sure. Because I think he does love his wife and his family. And I think this might be his last season. Um, his team isn't as talented on offense anymore. His defense is still legit. His old line is not it. Evans is getting a little older. Godwin is banged up. Then who's after that? And even
E-
though, hmm?
No, I was just gonna say Evans is injury prone too. Evans gets banged up too.
He gets banged up, but he plays games.
He
Like,
plays, yeah, but
yeah,
he's good to get banged up.
yeah, he
He
gets
he
banged
gets
up.
nicked throughout the season. Yeah, it's pretty
Mm.
normal for Evans to get nicked like that.
Yeah, and so he turned water into wine in New England with nobody, Julian Edelman. And not that Edelman sucks, but come on. If
Yeah, yeah.
anybody else if anybody else had Edelman, he's not going to be arguably a Hall of Famer. Like Edelman's
Mhm.
arguably a Hall of Famer, not from his stats, but from his playoff performances and how key he was in those runs. It's arguable. And so nobody else would have done that. So he can elevate the talent around him. So, but at the same time, man, the league is just getting bigger, faster, and stronger. And the way teams are stacked nowadays, the way the Bucks are set up, I don't even know if they're going to be able to compete as well as they did last year. So their running back room is a struggle. So I really don't know. He's just out there just to be out there at this point. So I think this year is going to be a very pivotal year for him. I think he might call it. I think that since he keeps everything so close to the chest, um, that this level of family embarrassment, I think this might be a little bit of a wake up call for him, and he might call it after this season. So that's a theory, but we're dealing with Tom, and but yeah, honestly, if I think this didn't go down the way this went down, he'll be playing till 48 and he'll still be out there. And I think what he's doing I mean, I kind of already figured he was doing this when hell he won 5 or 6. And it was like, okay, bro, like you got it. And he wants to be the greatest athlete ever. And even though he's not athletic, it requires athleticism to throw a football as well as he does at his age. So he wants to go down, I think, as one of the best athletes ever. So I think he's trying to trump football because he already got football. So he wants to be in that pantheon, which he already is. But I think he really wants to extremely separate
He-
himself. And as you
yeah.
said, hell, it took him what 3 decades, damn near. You know what I'm saying? He played in the '90s, so he's been playing for a while. So yeah, who else is going to have this kind of run unless they do some weird, Jordan type of stuff where you got three peats and you took you lost a year or two here and then you three-peated again. That's the only way that somebody can actually get up there, but it's tough to do in the NFL. So I don't know, man. We're not going to see anybody eclipse what he's doing, at least as far as rings and all of that stuff. Statistics, the way people throw the ball now. Shout out to Josh Allen. Love that guy. If he can stay healthy and stuff like that and win some Super Bowls, I mean, he's a dynamic dude. But I really can't see anybody, Joe Burrow maybe, that's in the league now that can actually contend with that. But Tom's got it, man. But I think that crazy gene in him is what's pushing him. And I think that this family embarrassment, because this is a family embarrassment, I would say. You don't want this. And she seems genuinely disgruntled. And I feel her on this. So it's a tough situation, man. So I hope it all pans out for the guy. Hopefully he can do some damage control and mend this somehow, some way. But yeah, man, it's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
Y- Yeah, I just think she's looking at it and she's saying, "What more do you want?"
Yeah.
And I think that to an Earthling, I think to an Earthling, you're gonna ask, "What more do you want?" Because for these extraterrestrials like Tom Brady,
Hmm.
only other extraterrestrials can understand what that's like. So
Hmm.
to an Earthling, it's incomprehensible that an individual who has achieved at the pinnacle of success the way that he has still wants more. And there's really no conversation to be had there because you're literally communicating on on two different planes of existence.
Hmm.
Like that's what I think is going on here. Like there was an episode of the old cartoon Justice League,
Hmm.
um called it was called To the Man Who Has Everything.
Hmm.
And so the idea was, it was Superman's birthday, and so Batman and Wonder Woman are trying to like celebrate Superman's birthday. But the idea is, what do you get Superman
Hmm.
for his birthday?
Hmm.
Like, he's Superman. He has he can, faster than a speeding bullet, whatever, stronger than a locomotive. He has all these superpowers. What do you get that guy for his birthday? And I think with Tom Brady, it's sort of the same principle, in which if you don't understand what it's like to be psycho in that way, you're just looking at it as a foreign concept that you could never fully grasp. Like, what do you get the guy who has 7 Super Bowls? Another Super Bowl. Like, what else is there? And I think for her, she's just struggling with, how do you reconcile that? And then on the other end, for Tom Brady, you know, you say you feel like you suspect that he may be retiring at the end of this year. Not if he thinks he can still play. Clearly, I mean, I just feel like if he thinks he can still play, he's going to keep doing it. But the question is, how do you reconcile your decision to keep doing it with your significant other, whom you've told, "I'm done at this point"? So I think you're opening up, like, there's a lot of different angles that we can go with this, obviously, and we don't have to belabor the point, but it's just like, now you're looking at, she can perhaps start to feel betrayed because you feel like you lied to her. And this is something that can be transferred throughout relationships in general, not just them two. But
Hmm.
like, you got a wife, or you got a husband, and you don't say, "Hey man, I'm done with this," and then you renege on that. Like, that has to not feel very good. And so, it's just, how do you deal with the ramifications of feeling like someone's going back on their word?
Yeah,
And
and but
I can't imagine what that's like in that kind of household, where you're
mhm,
dealing with two people who are respectively worth, like, individually, like, over a $500 million, and you have everything and you've done everything, but you still feel like there's more to do. Oh, that's crazy. But
yeah,
I feel her too. I do it. If this alleged stuff is true, I get it. But at the same time, I will openly acknowledge, I do not know what it's like to be in a relationship with someone who is a psycho like that. I don't know what that's like. Seriously, I don't know. And I think
mhm,
you can only empathize if you've been in that situation before. And if you've never been in that situation, I feel like you can't judge either person, because Tom Brady's just a psycho. He's a psycho. Like, what do you do being married to Michael Jordan? How do you deal with that? How do you deal with being married? Well, Tiger Woods ain't married no more, but how do you deal with that? How do you deal with something like that? That is some extraterrestrial stuff, bro.
yeah,
Like, for
yeah,
real. So,
nah,
I get it. I feel her.
mhm, yeah, 13. They've been together for 13 years, so um, yeah, that's not as long as I thought they were together. I had to look it up. They were together for 13 years, but man, when you're as influenced as what's the word I'm looking for? As influencing as she is, and you have a career that you can go out there and get going yourself. She probably been waiting for the last 8 years. So yeah, man, I feel it, man. Wild stuff, man. Wild stuff. Go
Yeah,
Tom, man. Go Tom. Try
yeah,
that.
yeah. I just think Tom is. I literally think that, like when we talked about Jordan, when they were doing the whole Jordan, John Morant said he could cook Jordan, and you were like, "Look, man, Michael Jordan is a sociopath." I think Tom Brady is a sociopath.
No, he is. He is.
Like he is a psychopath. And if only other psychopaths know what that's like. I think to the 99% of the population who is not a psychopath like that, like I feel like in certain respects, I'm crazy. I pale in comparison to
Absolutely.
whatever is going on in Tom Brady's head. I can't comprehend that. It's insane.
I wish somebody has a compilation out there somewhere. Tom Brady's like facial expressions when somebody drops the ball. At that point, but honestly, that's what makes his team so good, because he holds everybody to such a high standard, way beyond the coaches' standards.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and I be feeling bad for those guys. Like last year or the last couple of years, and Ronald Jones in the backfield, like Fournette will catch it. Ronald Jones, it'll be, and then Brady's face, Godwin would drop some. And Godwin would be, Godwin would get up and be like, he's not even going to look his direction. And this is just for a drop pass. I can
Yeah.
only imagine how Brady is in the household when it comes to football in general. Because it's like, hey, honey, where are you at? Because you're still in football. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, man, it's a wild thing, but you get what you get. She wanted Captain America. She got him.
She
And yeah, she got him. And this is what I'm saying, the back end of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, man, more power to them. Hopefully this is just hearsay, and hopefully he can mend this somehow, some way, because yeah, man, I think this is very unfortunate. I think both sides have legitimate cases, and I just
Yeah.
think it's unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not trying to call it one way or the other.
Hmm.
My thing is I get where she's coming from, but I also feel like Brady's a psycho.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to call it one way or the other. And when a
Mhm.
guy just came off a season where he threw the most yards in the whole league and he's 45 and he doesn't throw picks, what do you tell, like, like what do you say? Hey man, go ahead and hang it up. For what? Like for what? So it's crazy. It's a very wild situation. It
It
is a
is.
very unique, wild dynamic, and I can only imagine what those conversations are like between the two
Mhm.
of
Mhm. Go 12. Go
them.
12.
But next up, man, we are going to talk about Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle recently had some remarks in regards to the Will Smith Chris Rock situation. So the Will Smith Oscar slap continues to have legs in the content world. Dave Chappelle recently shared some thoughts on that, so we thought that we would opine on what Dave Chappelle had to say. So this article is from the Huffington Post. It says Dave Chappelle opens up about the ugly side of Will Smith after Oscar slap. Comedy icon Dave Chappelle said Will Smith's quote mask came off when he slapped Chris Rock at the Oscars earlier this year, revealing something ugly beneath. And he said, okay, I think they mistyped this. And he said he hopes the mask stays off. Quote, a lot of people forget who Will Smith is, Chappelle said during an event with Rock in Liverpool last week. Must be nice. I wish I can go to Liverpool.
Right.
Uh, according to the Telegraph, he reminded the audience that the actor was from a rough part of Philadelphia. Quote, then 10 minutes before he was about to get the biggest award, he acted like he was back in Philadelphia. End quote, Chappelle said. He added, Will did the impression of a perfect person for 30 years, and he ripped his mask off and showed us he was as ugly as the rest of us.
Oh.
Whatever the consequences are, I hope he doesn't put his mask back on again and he lets his real face breathe. I see myself in both men, Chappelle said. Chappelle was attacked on stage a little more than a month after the Oscars. Rock was in attendance. Quote, was that Will Smith? Rock cracked. Uh, Both Rock and Chappelle joked about their attacks at a small club show in Los Angeles days later. Quote, at least you got smacked by someone of repute, Chappelle told Rock, per the Hollywood Reporter. I got smacked by a homeless guy with leaves in his hair. So, those were some interesting remarks that Chappelle provided in reference to Will Smith. Essentially, he was saying that who Will Smith was at the moment that he slapped Chris Rock, that was his actual self, and that Big Willie style Will Smith, Fresh Prince of Bel Air, movie Hollywood Will Smith is the fake person. And Chappelle has always been a guy who is a champion for authenticity, which I've always personally admired about him. He doesn't care about things like getting canceled or saying the wrong thing or placating to the media. I personally admire that. I think more of these high profile individuals could follow suit with that instead of always bending the knee the way most of them do. But I get it. Celebrity, fame, money, endorsements, all of those influences come into the fold and they can essentially make you become a fake person the way most of them are. But Chappelle is also in a unique position in which he's been able to carve out a niche for himself under the guise of authenticity and not have his career be compromised for it. That's a delicate balance that not a lot of these people know how to strike. Even people who have made it at the very, very top, they don't know how to do that. He's one of the few people who know how to do that. But, he had this to say about Will Smith. And so, what were your thoughts on Chappelle's comments about Will Smith and his mask?
He knows Will, so I'll say that he's fair in his assessment of Will. And the reason why I would say he's fair because he knows Will Smith. I don't know Will Smith, but one thing that I can say about from what I've observed about Will Smith over the years is that he's too happy, and nobody's that happy. And when somebody's running around with that mask on, then there has to be something going on underneath that. And we've seen him distraught on the red talk tables. We've seen the look in his face in certain situations where it's just like, hey, this isn't the same jovial guy that we normally see. And so I really think he acts and he puts on a persona whenever the camera's on, because nobody is hey, everybody is I'm Will Smith, woo. And it's just like, hey man, nobody says woo, bruh. Like nobody does that. What are you wooing about? And so when he's doing that stuff, jumping out of planes for his YouTube channel, apologizing from his set on his YouTube thing, it just comes off as disingenuous. And so I guess he can say that, yeah, he took his mask off because we saw an ugly side of Will Smith because he never displays that in public. So we actually seen that. So I don't think what Dave's getting at is that he's a violent, abusive person. I think what he's getting at is there's a dark side to Will Smith that he never showed the public. And so that I do agree with. I am a Will Smith fan. I said this before in previous thing. I'm still am. I want to see him do well. And I feel like he's very charismatic when the camera's on in movies. He's carried movies when it wasn't really that interesting, but Will Smith's appearances always made it, worthwhile watching. So he's a very talented guy, but at the same time, his personal life to me always seemed a bit off. And I had to look his age up, and he's 53. And he's born September 25th, so he's about to be 54. And I cringed a little bit when I saw how old he was because he has to be that old. But I just cringed a little bit because it's like, damn, bro, like you're still in this space where you haven't been comfortable enough to be yourself, and it's really tragic. One thing that I do know about actors is that when you're playing so many roles in your life and in your career, Denzel Washington's a good person who keeps it under wraps. And yeah, he plays all these roles, but he still keeps, everything, in a sane kind of way. But you have to go somewhere. When Denzel Washington did Malcolm X, he was like, when I was filming that movie, I was Malcolm X. So the best actors lose themselves in a role. Like when Kevin Spacey had his whole situation pop up when he was out here getting Me Too'd. He came out with a weird video where he was in character from that show that he does when he's the president.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's this thing where, you have to have a balance in your personal life. So when hey, when the cameras are on, I get into that role. But once that role is over, I'm back to me. I think he's been doing so much of this acting throughout his entire career that he's just been acting the entire time whenever a camera is on. And so I think Jada sees it. I think his kids see it, his real side. And they know that whatever he's doing whenever the cameras is on is not really him. So yeah, I think Dave has a great point here. The hobo man with leaves in his hair, great great punchline there. Um, so Dave still got some juice there, but yeah, man. How do you feel about it?
So Chappelle has talked about this kind of stuff before.
Mhm,
Um, my favorite stand-up of all time is Dave Chappelle for What It's Worth,
mhm,
which was way back in 2004. Um, that's my favorite Chappelle stand-up ever, and it's my favorite stand-up ever in life. To me, it's the funniest stand-up special I've ever seen. And there was a part in that special where he was talking about celebrity worship. And in particular, there was a part where he talked about Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby, I don't know if you remember this, way back, way before he was even being implicated as a creep.
mhm,
Bill Cosby took, and this was pre-social media. So if Bill Cosby had said today what he said back then, um, social media troll world would probably have jumped all over Bill Cosby. But Bill
mhm,
Cosby, way back in like the late 90s or sometime way back in the day, made some comments about black people
mhm,
and hip hop and all of this
mhm,
kind of stuff. And
mhm,
Bill Cosby got on his soapbox and he was talking about how black people need to do better. Bill Cosby was essentially saying, "Hey, black people, be more accountable for yourselves and your own actions and behaviors." And he was going off into tangents talking about rappers and hip hop and all of that kind of stuff. He took a lot of heat for that. He was perceived as anti-black
mhm,
or sell out, all of those
mhm,
other things that come up a lot when black people like to speak on those types of things. And Chappelle, years later, in the For What It's Worth special, talked about that. And he was like, man, that's why Bill Cosby got in trouble so much because, you know, he had, because he was selling pudding pops for 40 years, people forget that Bill Cosby is a guy from Philly in the projects and he might say some real stuff from time to time. And so because he said some real stuff, he took heat for making real, he took heat for saying some real stuff. Uh, in part because people's expectations of who Bill Cosby is Cliff Huxtable, not
mhm,
William Cosby, dude from the projects. Now separate that from Bill Cosby, the creep. I am saying people can be introspective and be creeps too. That's possible. So I'm not saying that this means Bill Cosby's not a creep, but he did make those comments and he took heat for that in part because people had an expectation of Bill Cosby as, the beacon for black families and black fatherhood and all this kind of stuff. So in light of our perception of you in that way, how dare you make these types of comments? Who are you to say that? And so a lot of that came from the fact that there was just a violation of people's expectations of Bill Cosby, which I don't even know that that's Bill Cosby's fault per se. Like he did what he did and he did the Cosby Show thing and all of that. But at no point did Bill Cosby ever get onto a podium and say, hey, because I'm Cliff Huxtable, I am hereby disqualifying myself from saying real stuff from time to time. So I'll bring that up to say that Chappelle has talked about that in the past, and we've seen these types of dynamics play out with other people who in the entertainment world carve a niche out for themselves, whether willingly or unwillingly, as something, and then you behave in a way that is opposed to that, and now you got all of these problems. With Will, and I've kind of said this before, I don't think you're wrong, but I also think that a lot of this is our expectations of Will Smith. So, and I think both of those things can be happening at the same time. I feel like, Will Smith was sort of in a space where he did enough damage to himself with respect to making himself out to be this particular type of person. So, him putting his mask on. But then I also think that we just kind of take a lot of this stuff too far. And we really do believe that these individuals in their real lives are the characters that they play in these movies and TV shows. So a lot of us are walking around out here saying Will Smith is the Fresh Prince. So he's supposed to be happy and jovial all the time. And so when he becomes a real person and he becomes somebody who's capable of real human emotion and real things, we decide that we are going to opine on it as if to suggest that he wasn't being himself in that moment. When in that moment, we're all capable of doing those things. So I just think that this is a referendum on our propensity for celebrity hero worship, at the same time as it being a referendum on how some of these people do lose themselves and get swept up in the Hollywood madness. And so both of those things are happening at the same time, in my opinion. And I just kind of feel like Will Smith was caught in the middle of that.
All
And
right, so no, go ahead.
yeah, and I just kind of feel like, Will, and this is my speculation, like you said, I don't know him either. I'm just
Mhm,
speculating based upon an outsider's point of view.
mhm.
And I just kind of got the impression throughout these last 3 or 4 years where he was incurring all of this press that was unbecoming of him with respect to his the way that he raises, like the way that it became public how they chose to raise their kids, some of the inner workings of their relationships, the whole open marriage thing, and some of the stuff that she was doing that reflected negatively upon him, whether he likes it or not. The way that that played out in the media and in popular culture was, hey, this is making Will Smith look bad. And so I think that where he's guilty is that he may have not gone about in the best way expressing when he is genuinely unhappy or frustrated with a situation. Rather,
Right.
he internalized all of it to the point where at the right time it exploded and it resulted in a publicly embarrassing moment, which is what happened with Chris Rock. And so I think that it serves as a cautionary tale for others in how to best handle situations on the front end as opposed to internalizing them and allowing them to fester to a point where they can explode and you can end up making things work worse for yourself, both in terms of your career and your public persona and in terms of your personal life. So I think Dave Chappelle was on to something, but I think Dave Chappelle's remarks are both aimed at what he believes to be Will's mask and how he hopes that for Will's sake, Will Smith keeps the mask off. But it was also comments about how we look at these individuals and we really do think that Will Smith, the person, is like the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Just like we'll look at Bill Cosby and we really feel like Bill Cosby is Cliff Huxtable, or we'll look at any of these other people and feel like this person is really who this person is in real life, which is us and our depraved, weird nature that we have about ourselves in terms of attaching these tent poles of celebrity hero worship to these people. And the reason why a person like Denzel Washington is able to sidestep a lot of this is because Denzel Washington, and I believe that this is intentional, but Denzel Washington is able to strategically position himself in such a way that he is not perceived to be these beacons of something that people can gravitate towards, because we as people just need to be able to hold on to a symbol. And Will Smith put himself in that situation where he's going to be a symbol, and Cosby put himself in a situation where he's going to be a symbol. And conversely, I think Denzel has just said, I'm going to make art and movies, and I'm not going to allow you to put me in a situation where you're going to hold on to me as a symbol. And that's the difference between the two of them. But otherwise, I think Chappelle's points were apropos, but I think that they were points aimed at us as people as well as at Will Smith directly.
A fair point. And, because celebrity worship is a real thing. I've heard on numerous occasions from many celebrities that people would, hell, Chappelle said it, when he had a amusement park or whatever. And,
Yeah,
they're saying, I'm Rick James, bitch.
yeah,
And
yeah,
fucking, what's Mickey Mouse? Woo,
yeah,
I'm Rick James, bitch. And so, you can't really separate yourself. The way that people watch and consume stuff, they'll get mad at X person because they did something wrong to somebody in a movie or a TV show, and then they
yeah,
were in person, they were like, how could you do that? And it's like, what? I didn't even, first of all,
yeah,
I didn't even write that. Then
yeah.
I'm not that real person. That's not a real person. Why are you mad at me? And so but here's the thing. So like you said, it's like something, with, human nature that, people will do that. And so one of the coolest things that I've realized in my life is that, people's homes, whatever they choose to put on their wall, it's a reflection of, their subconscious. And so when people are watching like movies and TV shows, it's their subconscious mind can't determine what they're watching is real or fake.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they're watching these things, and that's why, it's for anybody, whenever you're consuming any form of media, it's there's a conscious, you can consciously try to filter some stuff out, but your subconscious mind really feels like you're in outer space when you're watching Star Trek. And so what people if people don't consciously filter stuff out, those are the people that interrogate people in the streets. Those are the ones that get disappointed when stuff like this happen. And I'm guilty of it too, because I really felt like Will wouldn't have done anything like that. you know
Mm-hmm.
it was so bizarre, and honestly no one has done anything like that, at least as far as I'm concerned. And so it was just so bizarre. So yeah, I was disappointed in that, but I never believed that that guy that was yelling woo and jumping out of planes and so happy go lucky was genuinely him. And I always had this thing where it's just like, hey man, I like Will Smith, I'm a fan of him, but I don't like this part of him. And then once all of this stuff started coming out with him and his marriage and his kids and all that other stuff, and it's not very flattering at all. Um, yeah, I'll be disappointed but not surprised, disappointed but not surprised. And this situation here is like how Dave was saying, the mask, the mask that he puts on all the time, yeah, it is coming off. So I do agree with you saying that, yeah, Dave has a point, but there's also a flip side of it where, the consumers, the people who are watching and decide to be fans or not, the people that just watch him, they do have to have some level of compartmentalizing their brain to go, hey, this guy is just acting, he's just an actor. So he shit just like me and all this other stuff. So he's a human. So the part about Will that I feel like, he has immense resources. He can get all the kind of help he can get. And for him to be his age and for these things to be coming out with him, like I can see if this was going on with other people, it's like, oh, okay, well, whatever. But it's just like, nah, man, Will keep having stuff come out every other year.
Mm-hmm.
And where there's smoke, there's fire. And so in this situation, we actually saw the fire. So I think that's
Yeah.
what Dave was saying. It's like, hey man, you actually saw it. So man, and to touch base on the Bill Cosby thing, yeah, man, he was on a soapbox.
Yeah.
and he was pointing as if he doesn't do anything wrong. But those are the peeps, right? So there's the people out here that's always doing the pointing, always throwing the rocks and and stuff like this. Why are you throwing so many stones? And it's because, well, you've got some stuff that you can get stones thrown at you as well. And so for Will to be out there to be playing into this role of Fresh Prince, as you say, or Mike Lowry, and he's just out here just yeah, suave, debonair, cool guy. Yeah, on camera it works. But in real life, when you're just doing your everyday thing, it comes off disingenuous, as I said earlier. So um yeah, again, like with the Tom Brady thing, this sucks. I don't like this. I feel sorry for the kids. I'm starting to feel sorry for Jada, because I thought Jada was the one stirring the pot, where she has her own. I'm not saying she's not guilty in any of this, but I can see how she isn't really all in on him because of how on the fringe he seems to be. And he's always seemed to be that way in public to me. He always seemed to be a little off, on the fringe. And so, yeah, he went to the other side with this award show thing. So, yeah, I just think I think it sucks. He will never recover from this. This will live forever in infamy. And so long as Will Smith name comes up, if there's a documentary, 20 years from now and they're talking about whatever, they're going to bring this up. And so this will always be a stain on his life. And I think that's pretty whack, but he earned it. So, yeah.
Yeah, he did earn it. I just no one is always that happy. That is correct. I just thought in that moment Will Smith became human. It's just in the moment that you become human, you don't want to do it on that big a stage because it's just too embarrassing and difficult to recover from. But I said it before a couple times and I'll say it again because I truly believe this. In that moment, I don't think he was slapping Chris Rock. I think he was slapping everybody whom he felt disrespected him. So it wasn't just Chris Rock; it was everybody, his own family included, in all likelihood.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that it's a way to see something play out in real life that should provide folks with an example that you learn how to be better with reconciling your feelings and venting your frustrations in the moment so that you don't have this huge thing going on inside of you and then at any moment it explodes and now you're embarrassing yourself publicly. That part to me, there's no like when Chappelle's talking about Will Smith's mask, he's basically saying in a roundabout way, you saw in that moment that Will Smith is capable of being a human being like the rest of us. That's
Mm-hmm.
essentially what Chappelle's saying.
Mm-hmm.
But be that as it may, you don't want to be in a situation where your moment of humanity comes at the expense of your dignity and along with public embarrassment in this way. And so the way that you kind of stave that off is by confronting situations that bother you in the moment that they bother you instead of just holding it all in. And I just kind of feel like Will Smith was just kind of holding it all in. And when it exploded, and it just so happened to explode at the most inopportune time.
So people.
And that's pretty, yeah, and that's pretty much it, man. But we all got a mask, and you know, the only reason why Will Smith did what he did with that whole contrition stuff and the apologies and all of that, of course, you want to apologize to Chris Rock because that was just disrespectful. But the whole public apology and doing the whole YouTube thing where he was answering questions from fans and apologizing and all of that kind of stuff, the only reason why he felt compelled to do that, I believe, is because he felt as though he violated people's expectations of who he is as a person.
Mm-hmm.
And those expectations came from how we have a tendency to believe that these people are who they are in their personal lives that they are in their celebrity lives.
Mhm.
And that to me is our fault as people. That ain't Will Smith's fault. So, we can have both of these things going on at the same time, like I said, where people need to get a more firm grasp on reality and who and what these people actually are. And, people like Will Smith just need to know how to confront situations in the moment so that you don't publicly embarrass yourself so poorly, so badly.
Mhm.
'Cause that was just a really bad moment for him. And yeah, I just kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah, and I agree with that. Well said. And it's kind of like, how, like, everybody like to talk about the wall that women hit. They want to just do their thing and have fun, and then they hit this wall where they're not as supple as they once used to be. All right.
Yeah.
So so that wall is a wall of reality. And so everybody goes through this. I know I personally go through this. Where I'm doing something where I know I shouldn't be doing it, and I'm still doing it because there's no immediate consequence to it. And then I have to have this moment of an event that
Yeah.
sets me straight.
Yeah.
And so this was his wall moment, hopefully, where he's, behind closed doors, he's really trying to fix some stuff within himself, to so he could actually be his genuine, authentic self. And yeah, I agree that Dave is saying that his mask was him, and everybody does have a mask, but at the same time, there still can be a level of authenticity even when you're wearing a mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so and that's admitting your flaws. That's admitting, that you're not perfect, and that, hey man, whatever, whatever. And honestly, I really think it took until this moment for him to actually at least say something that he's not perfect and he's flawed and all that stuff. But that's a given. That's that comes with life. And so for him to be parading around as if, nothing's going wrong, but we see your kids growing up looking, on some other stuff. Now, granted,
Hmm.
his kids are smart as hell. So they did a good job of putting information or having information available for them. But at the same time, they were also way out there. And to me, his children were reflections of how way out there he is.
Yeah.
And that's the fringy kind of behavior that I can see, even though he has a smile on his face. And so to me now, his children seem more sane than him. Jada seems more sane than him. He comes off now, at least to me, as the person that's mucking up the house. And that's why I was saying, like, I know Jada has her role in this stuff too, but hell, she even said, and we talked about this before, about how she said it on her Red Talk stuff, where he basically just got her pregnant and then forced her to get married and stuff. And so she didn't really want this anyway. And so it sucks that she had to make that public, but that's in his character set. And he did that back then, and he's been dragging this thing out for this long. And so when the foundation of their relationship started off on that foot, where's the trust? Where's the love? Where's any of that? If she said she was crying when that happened, when she found out she was pregnant. So with all of that being said, it's this is for him, and him sweeping stuff under the rug his entire life, it seems, that yeah, it's starting to come out that, hey man, there's lumps in the rug, and it's very obvious that there's trash under there. And this event, everything got peeled, well, not everything, part of it got peeled back. And yeah, it was unbecoming for him. So yeah, the cautionary tale for anybody out there that's living a double life, you know, and
Yeah.
try to be, yeah, when you do your interviews and you're talking to people, yeah, you're bringing your best version of yourself. You're not going to tell them, hey, would you take any stationery home? No, I'm not going to take any stationery home. I'm not going to do that. Yes, you are. Right. But you're going to tell them no. right? So was that authentic? No, it wasn't. So there's times where people are not authentic. They lie, they do this, they put on an act at a job and all this and this stuff. But at the same time, while you're at work, while you're doing your thing or whatever, there's still a layer of your genuine self that you could put out there that, um, that you're not really all the way masked up. But for him, I think that this situation, again, for all these years, for him carrying on with this stuff, that, yeah, like I said, it's just all of this stuff, just it had to manifest itself somehow. And so, Jada's red table talks and stuff like that. I mean, I know I was grilling her initially because I'm like, hey man, keep that indoors. But I think I think she, much like Tom Brady's wife, just personally had enough of the shenanigans, and she just wants to tell her side of the story. And that Will Smith, Big Willie style that you guys know and love, behind closed doors, he does this, this, and that. And so if you're living a life like that where, you're hey, oh, he was such a nice guy. That's what they always say about serial killers and stuff. Oh, he waves to me and all this other stuff. I'm not calling him a serial killer, but I'm just saying, like, that person that always puts on that act, you might want to investigate that a little bit. So yes, it sucks for this. But yeah, man, this is a cautionary tale, man. And I really think that if you do feel as though you're not being yourself all the way, bring yourself to some people, not the ugly side, but bring yourself to people just to let them know that, oh, your breath do stink. Like, you are a human. Like, you're just like me. So I don't know, man. This is cautionary, I would say.
Yeah.
Definitely cautionary.
Yeah. Everybody's breath does stink. But I also think that it's incumbent upon everyone else to remember that we all have breath that doesn't stink. So the door swings both ways. But
For sure.
appreciate Dave Chappelle for the content. And as we like to say with this Will Smith stuff, good luck. Hopefully it all works out. But yeah, it's just kind of crazy. But yeah, this thing still has legs, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, we'll do another one. I'm sure.
Yeah, probably so.
I'm sure there's gonna be more revealing news about Will Smith and
Yeah,
this interaction.
we shall see. But for now, we'll go ahead and move on. Next up, we are going to talk about Faizon Love. Faizon Love had some remarks in light of the Aries Spears and Lizzo fallout. Faizon Love goes way, way back, just like Aries Spears. I think the first time I saw Faizon Love was in Friday, I think. And Friday was what, 1995?
Yeah.
So yeah, Faizon goes way back, man, and he was on the same show that Aries Spears was on, Art of Dialogue. And the host asked Faizon about how he felt about what Aries Spears said about Lizzo. So we'll play a little bit of this, and then we'll react to Faizon Love's comments on Aries Spears.
Yeah. Shout out to the art of dialogue.
The art of dialogue,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Shout out.
I gotta ask you, man, how did you feel about the interview that I did with Aries Spears and his comments about Lizzo? Him saying that she looked like a shit emoji and she built like a plate of mashed potatoes.
You got to know the story of Aries. The comments in itself is stupid. I mean, Lizzo is a phenomenon, and she's really talented. So, and he's not so talented. He's got 1 year, and he's not. He's a yo son. But if you know the story of Aries Spears, is the guy they saw on Def Jam as a kid, when I think he was 13, 14 years old, and they flew him out to Hollywood These is Hollywood motherfuckers thinking he was gonna be the next Eddie Murphy, and wah, wah. He was so angry. I mean, I was gonna slap the shit out of him one time. It was like, this dumb motherfucker, the comedy store. So many motherfuckers was gonna whoop his ass because he was this cocky kid. He would get deals, and it was like him and Dave Chappelle would get all these deals. South of Sunset was one of the shows, and they would go nowhere, like womp, womp. So he was so cocky because they had built his head up. I mean, he walked like Eddie Murphy. He had the little hat on. Remember Eddie Murphy had the hat, the golden child hat? This nigga was wearing the golden child hat, and he was like, everything was it's like, fuck out of here, nigga. With that. So that's who he is. So his biggest claim to fame is what?
I don't know, man. I guess it would be him impersonating Jay-Z and DMX, right?
You don't even know. You're like, yeah, why am I talking to this motherfucker? The Mad TV show.
Right.
And that was lukewarm. That was produced by Quincy Jones, I believe. And I believe that was Quincy Jones. It's like I don't know. So that's his pinnacle. Here comes Lizzo, takes the world by storm. Bam! She plays the flute, which is amazing because the last person I know made the flute fly was Brick. A lot of people don't even know who Brick is. But you heard some disco. Dance. Some motherfucker playing the flute. But anyway, I think she plays way more instruments than that. But her doing all that other stuff is just her being a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's it.
So, yeah. So, that clip went on. If you want to see the rest of that, there will be a link in the description of this video so that you can watch that clip in its entirety. But you get the gist of it. Faizon Love essentially was saying Aries Spears was wrong for calling out Lizzo because look at what Lizzo's done out here, and look at what Aries Spears has done, which is nothing. So he can't be calling Lizzo out like that. He was wrong to do that. So clearly Faizon Love is team Lizzo on this debate. So are you team Aries Spears or are you team Faizon Love in this one?
Well, I gotta choose a team, huh? I'm choosing team Aries Spears on this. And the reason being is that for everything that I said from my last one, but from what Faizon is saying now, who's Faizon? And like you said, bro, like you first seen him in Friday, that's the only role for the most part that most people are going to point to and say, oh yeah, he's played in other things, he did other things, but so has Aries Spears. And Faizon Love, to me, I think he's a funny guy, but much like Aries Spears, I don't think he's a good comedian. I think he's just funny when he talks. And so I always get a good laugh whenever Faizon's talking, but he always, every time they put a microphone in his face, he's always hating on somebody. Faizon Love don't like nobody. I was surprised to hear him say that he liked Lizzo. So Faizon is very critical of people. So I'm not surprised that he's critical of Aries Spears. And did Aries Spears go a little too far? Yeah, with the shit emoji and
that's just comedy. I don't think he went too far.
That's just comedy. Yeah, that was just comedy. Like that was a good bit. It was. I got a good chuckle out of that. And so I really think that Aries Spears was really trying to be the voice of reason to whatever Lizzo does on a rock star basis. And yeah, she plays the flute. I've already acknowledged this, that Lizzo's talent, you don't get to where Lizzo's at if you're not some form of talented. So I've never taken that away from her. The thing that I don't appreciate about what Lizzo does is that she takes away from her talent by being such a sideshow. And if I knew Lizzo from her music, then I'd be like, all right, Spears, calm down, But no, I don't know Lizzo for her music. I know Lizzo for her sideshow shenanigans. And so Spears was just calling out the shenanigans, as he should, at least to me. And Faizon, to me, comes off as an enabler, like I spoke about last time. So I would say I'm Team Aries on this. Faizon always comes off as a hater to me. He doesn't like anybody. Like I said, he don't think. I think it was something out there I seen where he was saying some people weren't funny. I was like, come on. He was naming names and saying that guy's not funny. This guy, I was like, bro, then who's funny? You funny? If this guy's not funny, that makes you more funnier than him. So this to me comes off in the same kind of lane. Now, I will give Faizon this, because this is basically what I said last time, that Aries Spears he's not a good actor. And if I saw him live at some comedy show, I would be laughing. But at the same time, there's tiers of comedy, and he's not in my first or second tier. And so I don't really think he's that good of a comedian. I just think he's a funny guy. If you ever went to a party, he's the guy that everybody is just cracking up at. So he is talented, but he has a lane, and Spears is playing that by just being a voice on the internet, as he has been in the last few years. So I'm Team Spears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody has their shtick.
Mhm.
Faizon Love's shtick is, let me just talk shit. Like
Mhm.
Faizon Love's thing is they bring him on to some of these shows. He does it on Vlad TV, the same thing,
Mhm. Mhm.
where and the host tees him up because he knows what he's gonna get.
Factual.
The host knows what he's gonna get, and you're gonna,
Mhm.
if you tee Faizon up, you're gonna get Faizon, who does not care. Now, like so for the sake of full disclosure, I will say that I do appreciate Faizon Love for that, because I think that in the entertainment industry there is too much. Like those people are so afraid of being critical of their peers because they don't want to rub people the wrong way and offend people and ruin potential relationships. So no one is critical of anybody in the entertainment space. If you ask anybody in entertainment to give their opinion about what someone else in entertainment is doing, they're always going to say, oh yeah, it was great. It was great. I loved it. It's great. And it's like, everything can't be great. Some of this shit out here is trash. So I don't mind Faizon from the standpoint that Faizon is someone who doesn't mind saying something is trash from time to time. I find that to be refreshing. I think that that's a breath of fresh air, because there's too many of these celebrities out here who are too chicken shit to say that something is trash.
Mhm.
But at the same time, Faizon Love's career is marginal. So it stands to reason that if Faizon Love had more of a bigger career, he would probably bend the knee like the rest of these people and never say anything critical. So you know what I'm saying? Like he's able to do that because he's probably accepted what his career is, which is he's marginal, and so I can roll with being marginal by saying this stuff, because I'm not Kevin Hart. I'm not somebody who's so big that I have to be cognizant of being critical of others because I don't want to ruin relationships and all of that kind of stuff. But be that as it may, I've always been appreciative of Faizon Love, because in a vacuum, he ain't afraid to say something's trash. And I like that, because I don't like always hearing people talk about how great everything is all the time. Like, to me, it's just suffocating to hear that. That's why I don't pay attention to what these celebrities say, because none of them ever have a critical word to say about anything ever. And it's just aggravating. Now, beyond that, um, like I don't agree with anything Faizon Love said. I don't like any of it. Um, at what point when okay, so in Aries Spears' initial comments, when did Aries Spears ever say that Lizzo was talentless? When did Aries Spears say that Lizzo had no talent? When did Aries Spears say Lizzo can't perform, can't sing, can't do any of that? When did Aries Spears say that? As a matter of fact, I specifically recall during that video where Aries Spears was on Art of the Dialogue, he acknowledged Lizzo is dope. He said that. So when did this become a conversation about Lizzo's talent?
Right.
That is irrelevant to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's what people but that's what Faizon is trying to do, a redirect. And see, this is what, and I noticed this a lot in the sports world. So these athletes who are too sensitive to be told anything critical, the moment that somebody on TV, on one of these talk shows, one of these commentators, when somebody on TV or in the media is like, hey, Kevin Durant, you're not playing very well, or hey man, Jason Tatum, man, you turn the ball over too much, or hey, Kyrie Irving, show up for work. Show up for work. Everybody's got to take the vaccine, show up to work and play, be there for your teammates. One of the first things that these athletes will respond with is, you ain't never played in the league. You didn't play. You don't, what do you know? You didn't play. What the hell does whether they played have anything to do with whether they're correct or not? You know what I'm saying? But these guys do that all the time. Like, these basketball players especially, they love to get on, they love to do that with Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley is, he'll have an opinion, he won't be wrong. And what will these guys do? Oh, you never won a championship. What the hell does that have to do with whether Charles Barkley's right or not? Is what he said correct? Yes or no? Yes, it is. And it's true. That's why you're being so defensive. And you want to try and distract, you want to deflect, you want to issue a redirect by making it about whether Charles Barkley won championships or not. Who the hell cares whether Charles Barkley won a championship? Did he say something that was wrong? No, he didn't. And that's what Faizon Love is doing right here with Aries Spears. Essentially, what Faizon Love is doing is he's saying you shouldn't, because Lizzo is talented and Aries Spears is not. Don't listen to Aries Spears because his career is marginal and Lizzo is taking off.
Right.
Is what Aries Spears said true? Yes or no? What Aries Spears said was Lizzo takes body positivity too far by trying to force the issue with the way that she parades her body around publicly. And then she gets defensive and she lashes out at people who criticize her for it by accusing them of body shaming. When no one is body shaming you, they're just saying, hey, Lizzo, if you insist on dressing this way, either accept the criticism or get yourself in better shape so that people don't have anything to say. It had nothing to do with whether she had talent or not. But these Faizon Love is doing the same thing that these sensitive ass entertainers do, that these rappers do, that these basketball players and these football players do, which is, hey, I'm super sensitive and I'm defensive about your opinion. So I'm going to redirect from the conversation by making it about you. And it's not about Aries Spears. Aries Spears was asked a question by the host and he answered it as honestly as he could. At no point during Aries Spears' commentary did he say Lizzo isn't talented. And at no point during Aries Spears' commentary did he say, I have the best career in the world. Hence, you should listen to me because I have the greatest career ever. When did that, Aries Spears didn't do that. So why are we making it about Aries Spears' career or Lizzo's talent? Oh, you want to redirect the conversation because Aries Spears actually has a point. So again, and like, I got respect for Faizon Love. I do. As I said at the opening, to my opinion, on this particular video. But what I don't respect is these people who are trying to issue these redirects to, put the conversation in a whole different direction. Aries Spears even acknowledged Lizzo is dope. Lizzo has talent, but you can't be walking around looking like the shit emoji. And that was just his quote because he was just making light of it in a comedic way. Now you might not like that because you got all of this sensitivity going on, but Aries Spears is nevertheless a comedian, whether you like it or not. We can debate how good a comedian you think he is, but he has had a 20 plus year career in the comedy space. And so as a comedian, he's going to say things like that because he thinks it's funny. Shit emoji, funny, comedy. If he was on stage doing a bit, he'd probably say the same type thing because that's what these comedians do when they're doing their comedy bits, calling people the shit emoji. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I just, it pisses me off because, I feel like Faizon is trying to bend the knee to the body positivity people. He's trying to curry favor. That's what a lot of these people who are afraid to be critical publicly do, is they give these half-ass opinions that they don't even believe themselves because they're trying to curry favor from the masses in social media troll world who buy into this stuff, who buy this hype. And I feel like that's part of what he was doing. I feel like Faizon Love, and again, this is wild speculation on my part. I feel like Faizon Love has probably said similar things that Aries Spears has said in his own private life. Aries, Faizon Love may have, when he's talking privately to his friends or whomever, has said some of the stuff that Aries Spears said publicly, which is, bruh, Lizzo, like, why are you showing up to a Lakers game with your whole ass out wearing that see-through thing? And there's nothing that does not make it about, that's not shaming. That is just pointing out matter-of-factly, hey, listen, man, if you want to do these things, you're going to need to make some changes. Or, hey, it's a free country. Keep doing it, but understand that people are going to say stuff about it. But here we go with these redirects. You made it. Now it's about Aries Spears and the fact that he has no career and that he's not funny, or what the body positivity people did. They made it about Aries Spears' weight, and they made it about Aries Spears' relative attractiveness, when Aries Spears never once said that he was the best looking guy ever. As a matter of fact, in the same video, he said, I struggle with weight. I'm not the most handsome guy in the world. I don't have it all going on. He said that himself. So he acknowledged it. So all of this ammunition that you have aimed in his direction because you feel like he was being so disrespectful is really misplaced. It really goes nowhere. So, I as well am team Aries Spears. I am not team Faizon Love. I think Faizon Love had this all the way wrong, and he was basically addressing the matter in a capacity in which the conversation wasn't even going in that direction in the first place. This has absolutely nothing to do with Lizzo's talent or her level of stardom or lack thereof in the case for Aries Spears. This has nothing to do with that. Aries Spears was asked a question and he answered it. And again, he was not incorrect with what he said.
Yeah, I think you nailed that, bro. I agree with that 100%. And you had talked about, Faizon's abrasiveness. You didn't use that word, but he's a bit abrasive. And honestly, the way he crushed Friday, I wanted more Faizon. And industry-wise, I don't think he fits in. And that's all good. He doesn't have to. But I think because he's so abrasive that he may have talked himself out of roles or something where his career could have been a lot bigger and better than what it is now. And I think what he does is, like I said, man, he has so much disdain for stuff. Like nothing's this, nothing's that. Everything sucks. This person's trash. That person's trash. And when that's his whole thing, like how do you carry yourself in auditions, meetings, and other business relationships or potential business relationships? So yeah, this is to me, this is quintessential Faizon Love here. I still think he's a funny guy. Like I said, I don't have a problem with him. Whenever he's on camera, I do watch and laugh. But at the same time, Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's playing up a side. Now he might have been naturally triggered. He might have hit up Art of Dialogue and was like, man, put me on there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got something to say about that. Riding the wave maybe, and getting out there, being relevant or whatever. But I really think that I think that him as a person, he's displayed this on numerous occasions, so I'm not really surprised by this. Um, the Lizzo stuff again, man. I really think that the body positivity stuff is it needs to go away. It won't, but it needs to. And yeah, man, I don't see anything wrong with what Aries said. Like he said, he acknowledged that. He said my whole family like that. He said we drink fried milkshakes.
Fried milkshakes.
So that was funny too. I was like, yeah, boy, I might have to see a comedy show if he's spitting like that.
And side note,
Mhm.
I'm just thinking to myself, that sounds like it would be pretty damn tasty. A fried milkshake. Yeah,
I don't know
if
how.
something like that. If something like that is possible, but it would be pretty tasty, I would think.
Hey, they got fried ice cream out there, so
Yeah.
it's not too far fetched. Apparently, there's a such thing as fried ice cream. So yeah, man. So I think that Faizon. I think that Faizon is just being Faizon here. I'm not on his side at all with this, but I got a good chuckle out of it for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And again, I don't have an issue with Faizon. I just have an issue with how he addressed this in particular. Had he made it about the comments that Aries Spears directly put out there, I'd have a completely different take on this. But he immediately went into Aries's career and lack of talent.
Right.
And I'm just like, what does that have to do with what he said? And I noticed the same thing, God rest his soul. The same thing used to happen with Kevin Samuels. Kevin Samuels would say stuff, and the response in opposition to him would always be, you're putting down black women, you're doing this, you're damaging black families, you're damaging black society, look at you 50 and you ain't married. Or it was always that. It was always talking around what he was directly addressing. And every time I saw that, I would say, okay, well, can you address specifically what he actually said? Is what he said accurate? Forget all of the things that you think about black women and society and black households, black marriages, black families. Forget about all of that big picture stuff. Let's address what he is talking about. Is this something that women are doing? Yes or no? Is this something that men are doing? Yes or no? And what I saw, at least, I'll speak for myself, is every time you had these people coming out of the woodwork to criticize Kevin Samuels because they perceived him to be the bane of the existence of black women and black relationships, they never actually addressed his direct comments. They always talked about his marital status. They always talked about how old he was. They always talked about how he's damaging black people and black women and black relationships. And it was just like, okay, let's strip all this down and talk exactly about what it is that he said. Let's address what he said. Is this something that's actually happening in the world? And I feel like if you actually were to peel back the layers and do that, you would see that what he was saying, there was merit to it. It isn't about whether you're supposed to praise him for it. It's about getting down to the truth and assessing it so that we can come to some solutions that are tangible. But people get caught up in trying to prove that somebody's wrong. And in the midst of trying to prove that somebody's wrong, they go about doing it with specious arguments that have nothing to do with the precise comments that are being made in the first place. I see it with commentators, podcasters, YouTubers, personal attacks. Oh, well, I saw him doing this and this and that. Okay, well, let's get back to what he said or she. Is what they're saying correct? Yes or no? These athletes do it with these commentators on the media. They come after people in the media because they never played. You can know the game without having played it in the NBA, that doesn't mean that that person's wrong. Are you playing like shit or not? Is your field goal percentage for the last month 30% and you can't hit a three and you're missing your free throws and you keep turning the ball over? What does whether that person played in the league have to do with whether that's actually true or not? You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And like these entertainers, it's the same thing. You know, you say that a guy had a bad album, or if you say that a guy put out a bad movie, they don't respond to the critique. They just say, "Oh, well, you put out trash movies too." Oh, okay, well, that got us absolutely nowhere, sir. Thank you very much for that constructive feedback. And you know, we can go down another rabbit hole talking about the origins of this and why everybody out here nowadays is so sensitive and they just are allergic to any sort of constructive feedback. You know, I think echo chambers on social media and the internet have a lot to do with that. But that's a conversation for another day. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. But nevertheless, I see this going on a lot. And this is another example of that. And, you know, because Faizon Love took that particular approach with his response to Aries Spears, I just can't respect it. I respect him. I just don't respect anything he said there. You know, if he comes more correct and he more directly addresses what Aries Spears was talking about specifically, then I might have a different opinion. But I can't respect any of this because I felt like this was just a poor attempt at a redirect, or maybe a good attempt, and I'm just somebody who can see through that. Maybe a lot of people would be like, yeah, Faizon, you got him. But I'm just like, nah, bruh. Like, you completely attempted to redirect the conversation. And in my opinion, it fell on deaf ears.
Yep, totally agree. And just with the the constructive criticism, because I was going to bring that up, but yeah, that's all it was constructive criticism, and people don't want constructive criticism. They take it as insults, as you were mentioning. And yeah, it's a lot of that going on. This is kind of like what the old heads in basketball would talk about with these new guys, and they're also buddy, and it's like, hey, that's not how iron sharpens iron. You know, by you guys going out here and being buddy swapping jerseys, and hey man, this is where the game's at now. So these guys are gonna swap jerseys. And so but yeah, the celebrity culture, I agree that yeah, people are afraid to, not to lay into somebody, but just give their honest take on whatever they're doing. And the way that Spears did it outside of his, comedic punchlines, because he is a comedian, were you gonna tell him to turn it off? So outside of that, everything to me about it was constructive. And if she took heed to it, her life, I would argue that her life would improve because, well, she would be healthier. And that was my take from the whole thing, from what Aries Spears was saying. It was like, hey, get healthy. Am I healthy? No, but get healthy, And Faizon, he's a chunky dude himself. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe he felt some type of way about that, but I don't know. He didn't mention that in at least the clip that we played, but still, nevertheless, man, I just think that Faizon saw an opportunity to be on the internet again, to go viral again, and to throw another comedian under the bus. And so, yeah, this to me, when I heard him saying it, wasn't shocked at all. But to me, Aries Spears, he gets the W here. We need more constructive criticism out here. When people are out here just not doing, the right thing, and everybody's just giving them a pass, somebody has to call something out. And yeah, so Spears was never up there saying that how his career is dominant, he's taken off, he's better than this, he's better than that. So like you said, Faizon actually moving the goalposts to a whole nother argument. And it's like, we're not even talking about that. So so this is Faizon. This is Faizon 101. So he had a skit on Ludacris's album back in the day, Word of Mouth. That always got me cracking up too. Faizon's a funny guy, man, but I don't know. I can't side with him on this one.
Yeah, me neither. I just don't agree with him, and that's okay. I just disagree with everything he said. I just disagree. I just disagree with his take. But yeah, I just this is the this will be the last thing that I say. But I always told, like, I realized a while back, I don't think that I could make it. I realized for myself that I probably would not make it in a career as a music journalist, because it seemed like every time I read a review of an album, or these radio hosts bring these artists on, or these people who host these music shows and stuff, and they're talking about music, everything they say is always, it's great. Oh, it's so great. It's so dope. It's so good.
Fire.
It's fine. Everything's not good. And so, like, I realized a long time ago, I probably won't make it as a music journalist because I'm going to want to be critical. And I don't want to have to deal with having to decide whether it's okay for me to be critical because I might piss this person off. And now I got to deal with, compromising the relationship. Now this artist doesn't want to come on my show, or they don't want to come to where I work. They don't want to do interviews with my company because I said something that they didn't like, and all I was doing was being critical of their work. Like, I wouldn't survive in that ecosystem because I'm gonna want to say what I want, and so either I'm gonna get fired, or I'm just going to end up resigning, because after a while of faking it, I'm just going to end up fed up with myself because I'm lying and faking it. And so I'll just end up quitting. So I always realize, like, I would never survive in that world.
So I'm about to say, so basically you don't want to put that mask on.
You don't want to put that mask on. Yeah. I don't think I could wear that mask very well.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
think I could.
Right.
I don't think I could. I can only fake something for so long before I reach my breaking point and I start acting like myself. And I'm this way in my professional life, at my job. You got about a year of fake Javis. And after that year, real Javis shows up. And if you get caught off guard, you just got caught off guard. But I can only fake it for so long. Eventually, the colors come out. And so I can't survive in an industry or an ecosystem where your success is directly tethered to your ability to put on a mask, to just be dishonest, not true to who you are and what it is that you want to do. And I'm somebody who, if I listen to a trash album, in my review, I'm going to talk about why I think it's trash. I'm not going to sit here and write a whole review about why I think it's great, when in my heart, I think that this is a piece of shit. Now, that doesn't mean that I think everything is trash. It just means if something is not good, I reserve the right in my role as a professional to be critical. And what I've noticed in some of these industries, music in particular, also just entertainment in general, is I don't see any sort of honesty whatsoever. All I see is a bunch of stroking and ego stroking and hand holding. A rapper puts out a trash album, 13 songs full of hot garbage, and all of these journalists writing these reviews and talking about it on their radio shows and their podcasts are talking about how good it is. And why do they do that? Because if they are honest, they feel like they won't get the artist on their show, or they'll piss them off and it'll mess something up, and there goes the farm. And I just don't like that. I couldn't see myself being a part of something like that. You can get away with it a little more in sports, because, like, in sports, these people like Stephen A. and Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, these sports commentators on TV, radio, podcasts, they can get away more with honesty in the sports world than you can get away with that in the music and entertainment world, for whatever reason. I don't even know I don't know what the difference is, but you can do it in sports more easily than you can do it in, like, entertainment and music. So I don't know. That's just an aside. I always realize that about I can't do it. I can't do that. And I feel like, this Faizon thing is another indication of how that works in those particular ecosystems, where you just got people just stroking and bending knees and placating. And I just think it's disgusting.
Yeah, man. Agreed. Life is balanced, bro. And this is tying into the last subject. And you know, I had a supervisor. He said shit sandwiches. He would make shit sandwiches, and he'll give a compliment. He'll give you the shit, and then he'll end it with a compliment. And and so if you are being authentic, because when you're being authentic, at least for me, I could see the positive in something. But as I see I raise the positive just to let people know that, hey, I see this for what it is. I'm not a hater, but here's how I really feel about what's going on. Again, I'm not hating. And that's all Aries Spears did. And he said, hey, she's talented. She's dope. She's doing her thing. But XYZ. And so to me, that comes off more authentic and more genuine than what Faizon's doing. Like you saying, is placating to the body shaming community or whoever else that is siding with Lizzo in this madness. Because honestly, it's madness.
It
And
is.
so the mass thing that I was saying in the last one is that I said that, hey man, yeah, if in a job interview thing, hey, are you gonna go home with any stationery? Nah, I'm not gonna go home with any stationery. All right. But so yeah, you said something there. But at the end of the day, once you bring yourself out, in some type of way, and I'm not saying run home with stationery, but I'm just saying that once you actually are at work and you are doing your thing or whatever, like you said, the real you comes out. And hey, hate it or love it, I'm still a good employee, but I'm a little quirky over here. Hey, that's all good, because again, that little quirkiness that is coming out, that is you being authentic. That is you being genuine. But you have a balance in that because you have to have relationships and this and that. So if I had a music blog or something like that, and an artist came out with some trash, if the artist is trash and they always come out with trash, I would say that. But if they had a fire track in the midst of this trash, I would also point out that track was fire.
Right.
So you can still be yourself, but be, authentic and genuine about your criticisms or your critiques or whatever. Like, you should not be able to be in this boat, like you said, with all of these, hype people who are always, oh, this is fire, this is that. And then I go listen to it and I go, how is this what you said in your review? And shout out to Needle Drop. I think that's the name of his channel on YouTube. The white dude with the glasses, he always reviewing albums and stuff. He's very honest about stuff. He's a real Kendrick Lamar homer, and Kendrick wouldn't do nothing wrong. He'll critique him though, but still, he's still a Kendrick homer. But overall, he's really honest about his takes. And that's why I appreciate his stuff. He comes through authentic and genuine, and whether you like it or not, hey, I'm a food critic. If your food is trash, I'm gonna let you know. And so in this community where people are blogging and podcasting and stuff like that, hey man, one day I might have Lizzo on my pod, and now she don't want to join because I said she extra chunky. And it's just like, well, I'm sorry. Are you extra chunky? Because if you are, I'm gonna say that. And so it's an observation that everybody sees. Well, you don't have to point it out. I think I do. And because you're the one that's putting it in everybody's face like that. And you're acting like we all need to take this and accept this, but it's madness. And so I'm not accepting your madness. I rebuke your madness. And I'm also going to give the truth for people out there that may be on the fence, and they go, you know what, this guy actually has a good point. Now I was like, hey, whatever, but this guy actually raises some good points. I'm not going to all the way side with him, but I do think he's correct that she does need to get healthier. And that's the whole point. Coming out here just masking up and just everybody's hot, everybody's dope. Oh yeah, this is fire. Yeah, you're nothing but Will Smith. Eventually you're gonna run around and slap somebody on stage. And then it's like, oh well shit, this guy that thinks everybody's fire did that. And it's like, yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
if you are authentic and you show that, hey, I don't like stuff, and then you do something, not slap somebody on stage because you don't have no pent up stuff. But if it's still something that comes out and you're extra critical about somebody, hey, it's all a part of your package. So you
Hmm.
didn't surprise anybody, you didn't do anything crazy. So yeah, so this all ties in, man, and hopefully Lizzo somehow, some way, somebody close to her or whatever, she gets her Monique on, she gets something, hell, get surgery. I don't know. I'm not an advocate for surgery. I really, I want people to go do it themselves. But whatever it takes for you to get healthier, I'm all for that. And you can still be out here doing your thing, going viral in other ways instead of using your body as your way to actually get clicks and views. So to me, I think that's petty. I think that's talentless. And she needs to actually be use her talents so people can go, you know what? She's a good artist, a good person. I mess with her, leave her alone. But
Yeah.
she's out here attacking other people with her lifestyle choices, and I don't have to agree. So
Yeah.
team Spears, man. I might I
Yeah.
might I might pull up to a comedy show if he pull up here in Austin. So
Yeah, Team Spears, bro, for the second week in a row, Team Spears, like
yeah,
for
man, he on
real.
a roll.
Yeah, I just can't respect that form of conversating, debating, however you want
Right.
to describe it. I just can't respect that whole redirect strategy.
Yep.
That is when the people do that, it's like, okay, you're being intellectually lazy at that point, and you're
Yep.
trying to deflect from the issue by making it about something else.
Mhm.
And so I just don't respect it. I don't respect it. But again, I got respect for Faizon Love. It's just in this particular context, I can't rock with that. And oddly enough, Lizzo is kind of an innocent bystander in all of this
I
because
know.
yeah, like the art of the dialogue, they asked Aries Spears his 2 cents, he gave it, and then Faizon Love goes on there and Buddy tees him up in response. And so, Lizzo really has nothing to say with all of this because she didn't really start nothing. They just asked her a question. But be that as it may, I don't think anything that Aries Spears said still was particularly incorrect. And he didn't make it about his talent or career in any kind of way. So I just kind of feel like making it about that is deflection. And I just can't agree with it. So it
Agreed.
is what it is, man. Team Aries Spears, go bro. I hope he got some podcast. He mentioned in his response video. I gotta look that up. But yeah,
Oh,
all
word.
relevant
Check
links.
it out.
Yeah. So all relevant links will be in the description of this video, though. So y'all check that out. And on that note, man, we're gonna go ahead and sign off for this video tonight, man. Appreciate everybody for watching, for tuning in. If you're watching this video, please hit the subscribe button so that you can get the notification for all content that comes on to this channel as we continue to rock and roll, man. We certainly appreciate you supporting logical content. You can follow me on Instagram at JVWins. You can follow Conscious Approach on Instagram at Con Approach. Also, the meta page is still active. None of the videos recently have gotten flagged. So, fingers crossed, we're going to keep the momentum going. But if you're watching this video on the meta, like the video, share the video, and also like the page. Certainly appreciate that. All traffic is good traffic. Let us know what you think about this video in the comments. Let us know where we went wrong. Let me know where I went wrong. If you think I'm crazy or have horrible opinions, I don't wear a mask, so I don't give a damn if you tell me I'm wrong. It ain't gonna bother me. I'm still gonna sleep well at night. So it is what it is. Until next time, as always, I appreciate you supporting logical content.
Yes, sir. And the name is Dogon SS. You can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS or on YouTube at Dogon SS. All right. I got some songs over there. Go ahead and check them out. I think they're pretty fire, right? But I'll take your honest critique on that. But I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit. So make sure they're nice comments. I'm just joking. All right. So just make sure you like and subscribe over there. Hit that bell for them notifications too. All right. And like I always say, man, don't be too high. Don't be too low, man. Keep it even kill. Keep it chill. Keep it calm and keep it player. And man, keep it amicable out here, man. And these were some very valuable lessons. Just perusing through these topics through the week, man. So hopefully you got some gems out of this, because me and my boy JV Wins, all right, you know what I'm saying, we be dropping them stones on y'all. So hopefully y'all enjoyed this, man, and hopefully y'all be around for our next episode. So until next time, y'all.
Yeah, certainly appreciate that. Wherever you're watching this video, however you're watching this video, whether you're watching it on stream, whether you're watching the individual videos, go ahead and support the channel. We certainly appreciate it. And until next time, we are going to sign off. Peace.
Peace.